Hi, I'm Tora from Superfit Mom. In this video, I'm going to explain to you a little bit about the background for the correct core activation that is so important for you to really have a really strong hold of before you do the actual exercises to rehab your core after giving birth. Now below there's a link to a video where I show you this exercise with Maria from Triplets of Copenhagen, but I just thought I was going to give you a little bit more of a insight into the background of this particular exercise. So the correct core activation has 4 steps. You need to be in neutral position, you need to focus on your breathing, on your pelvic floor activation, and on your transverse abdominal activation. Those are the 3 steps, and they need to be in a specific order. Now I'm going to be looking at the sort of the theory or the science behind this order of the steps in a bit. But first of all, I'm going to explain to you why these steps are so important. So being in neutral means that you have a nice posture, basically. But it also means, when we think nice posture, I think most of us just think that you need to have a straight back and shoulders down and stuff. And that's, correct. But you also need to think about your pelvis being in neutral and your rib cage being in neutral. So the exercise that I was doing with Maria, she's in supine on the floor, and you need to be in neutral position with your pelvis and your rib cage and your spine and shoulders and everything else when you're lying down as well. But this correct core exercise you can do standing up or sitting down or walking or running or doing other exercises where you include your arms or legs. But to begin with, you need to just master it when you're just lying down, as we did with Maria in the other video. So when you're lying down and you need to find your neutral position, you have to first of all think about where your pelvis is. So you can, if you see me lying down on the floor here, you can sort of rock your pelvis a little bit back and forth till you find where you're level, where your hip bones and your pubic bone are sort of level. Also, your rib cage needs to be in neutral, so you don't want to be having it stuck up like this or collapsed like that. Some of these steps to neutral are a little bit easier standing up than lying down, so you can sort of practice them standing up and see how it goes when you're lying down as well. Also think about elongating your spine, shoulders down, and when you're lying down to do this, you need to have your legs bent but still relax your legs and relax your butt and relax your jaw and neck and everything. So you're in neutral, and the reason why we start the correct core activation in neutral is because the different muscle groups of the core actually work best when you are neutral. So always start your exercises in neutral and sort of make sure that you have activated your core in neutral, and then you start your exercise. Also in your everyday life, when you lift your kid off of the floor, make sure you're in neutral. Make sure you're not collapsing like this or whatever. So yeah, neutral, first step. Second step is your breathing. Now, I'm gonna have you have a normal inhale, just not too big, just kind of normal inhale, and then breathe out most of that air, so at least 2/3 of it. But in the beginning of a rehab process, you would want to exhale most of the air that you just had on the inhale, because that is going to make it easier for you to do the 3rd step. So neutral position, breathing in normally, and then exhaling most of that air. And then we go to the 3rd step, which is activating the pelvic floor. Now just to go back to the 2nd step again, the reason why we want to exhale most of that air is because it is actually making the pressure of your pelvic ball a little bit lighter. So if you have a really big breath in and then you try to activate your pelvic floor, if your pelvic floor is not that strong right now, or your connection to your pelvic floor is not that strong, then it's going to be difficult. It's going to be more difficult to do it. So try to exhale as much as you can of that, at least 2/3 of that inhale, and then activate your pelvic floor. So we're working with the last bit of the exhale and with the pause between the exhale and the next inhale. So we're coordinating it, these 4 steps with the breath. So we need to be a little bit, snappy about it. But we do it really in these 4 steps now. And when you got the hang of it, obviously you don't have to do it this slow. So neutral position, first step. Second step, inhale and breathe most of it out. Really, it's extra good if you exhale with a little sound. So you're like blowing out a candle. And then your third step, you activate your pelvic floor. Now, activating your pelvic floor here in the correct core activation isn't it is a little bit like doing a Kegel, but it's not like a super strong Kegel. You need to sort of squeeze a little bit around your openings in your pelvic floor, but also lift a little bit. So it's a gentle activation of squeezing around your openings and lifting into your body a little bit. So when we're doing this exercise lying down, you're kind of thinking that your pelvic floor is lifting up towards your head, right? So it's, the same direction up as if you're doing it standing. So that was step 3. Step 4 is when you activate your transverse abdominis, your abs really. You need to hold on to step 3 as well. You need to kind of hold that little activation in your pelvic floor and then go to step 4, where the easiest way to sort of illustrate this is to pull your navel towards your spine. Now this is not a huge amount of really intense sort of pulling to your spine, like as if you're pulling on your tightest jeans. That's not what we're going for here. We just want to have a tiny little gentle pull in that is coordinated with the breath and with the pelvic floor, and that is mostly from the belly button and down. It's the transverse abdominis, and particularly the lower bit of the transverse abdominis that we want to engage here. And the transverse abdominis is the deepest of our core of our ab muscles, and it kind of wraps around our midsection here, and it goes all the way to the pubic bone, to the hip bones, and all the way up here to your rib cage. And it starts actually on the back, or out here on the smalls of your back. So it's a huge muscle, and it's of the utmost importance when you want to rehab your core after pregnancy. So that's the 4th step, sort of pulling your navel a little bit towards your spine. That is the correct core activation. You want to hold that just a bit, and then when you feel that it's time for you to breathe in again, because remember, this was actually all done at the very last section of your exhale and on the pause between exhale and inhale. So when you feel, okay, I'm ready to breathe in again, then you gently release pelvic floor and abs, and then just do a normal inhale, and then you do the whole thing again. So you exhale, most of it, and then lift and squeeze a little bit in your pelvic floor, a little bit in your abs, in your tummy, and hold it gently until you're ready to inhale again. And you release when you inhale. So that is the 4 steps of your correct core activation. So the reason why we do these 4 steps in this order is because the studies have shown that this is the order that the core fires up when it's functioning normally. So when you do this study, you put electrodes on these specific muscle groups, and then you make the person lift an arm or do and some kind of ab work or whatever, or walk or something. And in a normally functioning core, this is what happens first. You would exhale a little bit, and you would activate your pelvic floor and then your abs, just enough to sort of match what you're doing. So if you are going out and lifting like something really heavy, a piano or something, if you do that, then there's more activation in your core. And if you just lift your arm, then it's just a little bit, but it's the same thing anyway. And this is so interesting, I think, because the core is actually active the whole time. or it should be anyway, be active the whole time when you're up and about. But the amount of activity in the core is supposed to be matching what we're doing. And when we have a dysfunctional core, which I was going to say most, but at least many women who have given birth have, at least in the first period after the birth, but also if it's not, fixed, then it can continue forever. Many women have dysfunctional cores of some sort that can come about in the diastasis recti, separated abs, or in pelvic floor issues, but also just in the way that we breathe and in normal functioning everyday life. If you don't try to sort of mimic the way that we want the core to work and just kind of throw yourself into normal exercise again, then it can be super hard for the core to kind of find this the correct core activation again on its own. Because the thing is about a dysfunctional core or a weak core, which most of us have after pregnancy, is that the body is super smart and it tries to compensate for this by using other muscles, which is so smart in the moment, like in a short-term thing, because that stops us from injuring our spine, for instance. If we lift and have a really weak core, there's such great risks to really injure your spine. But the body thinks, okay, I'm going to lift this toddler off the floor, and I really don't have the core strength for it right now, so I'm just going to use my glutes or my shoulders and kind of see how I can protect everything right now. And that is super smart to do these compensational strategies right now. But in the long run, it is not going to fix your core. You have to sort of focus on helping your core to sort of find its optimal way of functioning again. And in the beginning, you need to do it specifically and consciously. And then the body is going to take over. It's going to get stronger. First of all, we're going to strengthen actually the connection between the brain and the muscles, sort of the nervous connection here. And then we're going to start actually building up strength in the muscles again, and optimization. Because in a normal functioning core, and that is pelvic floor, that is stomach, that is posture, everything, this happens, naturally, without us thinking about it. Before you got pregnant, I am almost 100% sure that you did most of this correctly without even thinking about it. But we can't really do that after we've been pregnant, or at least if we have separated our abs, diastasis recti, or if you have problems with your pelvic floor, you need to really address this specifically. And one way of starting this is to look at the correct core activation. If you want more tips and tricks on how to get a strong core and a flat belly again after you have had children, please sign up below. You can also get updates on the English version of my online ad program for moms, which is in the making.